I am going to get going very shortly. I am currently trying to get some things set up, so give me just a second here, guys. See if I can find a link to this. So this live stream is a lot of trouble. So all right, I finally found the page. Got to get my URL, post it back in here. All right, I think I'm about ready. Oh, come on, don't do that to me. Publish now. Great. Okay, so here I am. If you are one more URL to edit. Oh, what a pain in the butt. Okay. So I think I'm live. That would be my assumption. There is a delay, so any comments I'm not going to see for a while. But I'm playing it now. I've invited. This is usually a Patreon. Usually, it's my first one. Usually a Patreon only stream. Sorry for the fan here. But I have opened it up to Facebook friends as well, just to get more people in here and to test it out. So I think I'm just talking to myself right now, but that's not uncommon. So I'm working on some commissions right now, and I'm working old school on paper, which is not often. I don't get to do that very often anymore. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm going to switch over to a different camera here, to a drawing table. Hey, look at that. Paper, pencil. And I've already lost my pencil because, that's what happens. Wouldn't you know it? So if you're a Patreon member or subscriber, I have the Discord account open for those in the top tiers. Still looking for a pencil here. Wow. Really? I think I got something. So I still have Patreon, or I have chat going here in the actual stream on YouTube, and I have the ability to look at chat on Discord as well. So please be sure to jump in if you have any questions or want to engage. So these are some commissions I opened up about a week ago, or boy, it's a month ago, almost a month ago now. And just now getting to a lot of them because they've really kicked my butt. I was out sick for a while and with a really weird case of vertigo, which didn't allow me to do anything. So a lot of times this particular one, I'm reproducing an image that I'd already done before. So got the good old animation disc out. I'm going to do this in ink and watercolor. So I bought some resist. What did I buy? It was some Doc Martens. I think it's it's not Doc Martens. Yeah, it is Doc Martens. It's kind of a frisket fluid, and it's a lot thinner than I was anticipating. But I'm hoping to frisk out some of these areas here, and to get a resist. But we'll see how that works. Sounds good in my head, but who knows? I'm gonna move this microphone back if possible. There we go. Always fun to draw Tawi. Been drawing him now for over 40 years in some form or another. 42 years. That's crazy. So the 42-year-old character that most people have never heard of. Usually when you're celebrating the 40th or 50th anniversary of a character, it's a beloved character. No one's ever heard of Tawi. Just had a nice big Florida storm go through. So hopefully it won't come back and knock us out. And just checking over here to my Patreon stream just to see if things are going through. Yes, they are. That's cool. All right. Also wondering what kind of CPU. So again, if you have any questions, type them into the YouTube chat there, and give me something to talk about. I think our delay is about, about 3 minutes or so. I don't know why I shaded this foot this way the first time I drew it. So I think I'm gonna, after I trace this off, I'm gonna plus it a little bit. Not completely. I think I drew this original 4 or 5 years ago. This was originally a drawing that was on the first cover. Let's see here. The first cover for Red's Planet preview book that I did, which was essentially chapter 4, and I printed up a bunch of copies of that using a print-on-demand comic service, a company called Kablam, who does wonderful work. They're down here in the Central Florida area, and gave them out to people at MegaCon. Said, "Hey, look at me! I'm a cartoonist." They looked at me and went, "You're a little old to be a cartoonist." Passing out free comics. But seriously, it was a way of getting it out there and getting some feedback. See if there was any interest. Was I crazy to even be trying this? I do realize now that I am crazy for trying this. If my goal was to, support my family, but I did it, and it's nice to do something that's actually yours. We spend so much time in the animation industry drawing other people's projects. And it's fun, but people get excited when they find out what you've worked on. I was doing a convention a couple of days ago, and sitting there at a table. There's a tiny convention, a little convention up in Ocala, Florida, and it's funny how many people come up and the comments aren't much different than when I was a caricature artist. That's the funny thing to me. And people come up and see your banner there and say, "I've never heard of this," as if them hearing about it is the measurement of whether or not it's any good, or it's odd. I don't know how to describe it. It's like drawing caricatures, and people would come up and say, "Did you draw all these?" referring to the samples, and you'd say, "No, I drew some of them." Oh, like that. Somehow that diminishes who you are as an artist because you didn't draw all those. So I feel like Bob Ross, kind of talking kind of low here. Yeah. Let's draw a happy tree. All right, getting out the ink here, which always has the potential. Ooh, there's no ink in there. Getting ink out always has the potential to go wrong. All right, so got a little bit of ink in there. I'm using actually a combination of two inks. I've got some Higgins Black Magic, which is a little too thin, and I've got some Dr. Martin's high carb ink, which is a little too thick. Between the two of them, I get a nice result. With the high carb, you don't get that shellac shininess in the dried ink like you do with regular India ink. And but it's high carb, so it's a lot more fattening. And I'm going to be using a brush. What will I be using? I will be using, I've got both of these are Winsor Newton Series 7 brushes. This is what I've been using since I was in high school. Not these particular brushes, and I'm using, I've got a number 1 and a number 2. My number 1 has been splitting a lot, so I'll probably be using the number 2. And gave it a little lick with my mouth there. I've got a little, let's see if I can turn this over here without losing too much. I've got a little um, piece of paper over here that I worked my brush out to get a point. So, and then let's see if I can get this guy back over here. There we go. So, I always like to, as I'm starting off something, I like to go straight into a black area that gives me a little chance to test it out, make sure that that the brush is ready, and it's also, get rid of some of the nerves of going to ink. For years, and you'll notice the drawing turning here, I'm using my animation disc. Sorry, wasn't breathing there for a moment. When I'm cutting a line like that, I just hold my breath. I'm sure there are people who tell you not to do that, but so for years, working on comics and comic strips back in college and high school, I'd turn the paper. But the great thing about working in animation is you learn the joys of the animation disc. So I can tape my drawing to this disc and just spin this whenever I want to get a nice line. So, hey Hugo. And Spiked Psycho, who I'm assuming is Lazy Reader, but I could be wrong. So, there we go. It is up and away here. So, oops, just headbutted the camera, cause forehead. So my philosophy in inking has always been thicker lines toward the bottom to add weight, thinner lines on top. It's not a revolutionary theory, it's what most people do, but so I was hoping for better quality stream here, but Bright House is giving me a less than 3 megabits per second upload speed out of the goodness of their heart. So thank you. Thank you, Spectrum, which is not what I call them at home, but we're in mixed company, so I will call them Spectrum and not another word that ends with ectrum. So we're going to work on trying to get a higher upload speed so I can be doing decent HD uploads. But rumble of thunder. Like you do. I'm gonna have to hit that fan again, so sorry for the fan sound. Let's just pretend like it's the brewery. So I'm warming up here. I'm not crazy about that line right there, but I think it'll work. Yeah. My seat's too high. I was doing a commission the other night and redid it 3 times because it wasn't up to my specs. That's just kind of how I am. And then once I looked at most of them together, I realized there wasn't that much of a difference, but you know. Keep practicing, maybe I'll be a professional someday. Boy, I used to be so much faster at inking with a brush, and you know, it's because I did it every day. But everything I do these days is digital, so the thinking is the same, but the skills are a little different. And of course, there's the wonderful undo button. I've always been a brush guy. I've tried pens many times, but I tend to run my hand across the drawing too much and end up smearing everything. Sorry, holding my breath again. So also noticed that my eyes are going these days, thanks to looking at a monitor all the time. It doesn't help anything. So sorry if I'm headbutting or the monitor or the camera here, or keep feeling my hair rub up against it, so I love these brushes. There was a while where you couldn't buy these brushes. I don't know if it's still true. They were the import of these brushes was stopped because of the sable hair used in them. Of course, the sable is not killed to make these brushes, but for some reason our government saw fit to stop the import. So I don't know if that's changed. There is no watercolor brush that I have tried that's anywhere close to the Series 7. The legend of these brushes is that Winsor Newton created these brushes originally for Queen Victoria, who was a watercolorist. But they have a snap to them that it's unequaled. I know a lot of people use Japanese brushes these days, but you know, cartoonists have been using these brushes for many, many years. So there we go. So I'm going to leave that the egg right now. So, still trying to figure out what to do with the egg there as far as coloring goes, but I think we're going to hold off on that until I'm able to play around with that resist. My coffee cup is very close to my water, so I'm anticipating dipping it in there at some point. Okay, so let's try some watercolors. I've been using Prang watercolors for years now. I don't even know. Okay, this one right here is probably Cab Art. So I'm going to say this is 25 years old, but I might have bought this one more recently. But these are some of the best. They're semi-moist, which means that they're not the hard, dry palette that you usually see. As soon as you add water to these, they moisten up very quickly, which is a nice thing. This one's a little cleaner. Let me grab a brush here and get some water. So I tend to mix my colors here, excuse me, and so I use a lot of the colors over and over. This looks like a good start for my gray for Tawi. It's a little dark. I'm gonna add some blue into it, and I think that might, and start somewhere. Yeah, I like that. Okay. So I've always seen Tawi as kind of a light blue gray. Erase a lot of my pencil lines. Probably should have done that first. So there we go. Looking good. My table is at a little bit of a slant here, which I should have adjusted. So for years, I I didn't know what to do with Tawi, and I was stuck with trying to figure out what he was. For some reason that matters to anyone, but it did to me. Like, is he? So he originally started out as a bug. Um, my cousin taunted me as a child, that he had an invisible friend, an invisible fly named Tawi that only he could see, and every time I said that I could see him, he would tell me that no, he wasn't there anymore. He was over here, and until I actually drew my own version of Tawi and locked him away in a cigar box so that my cousin couldn't see him. But so he started off as a fly. I don't know why. I never gave him wings. Maybe so he couldn't fly away. And but it mattered for some reason. Sorry, got a brush in my mouth. Of what he was, that I couldn't, you know, couldn't have a character that was nothing, just a character. It doesn't seem to matter with, you know, a lot of the characters we see on TV these days, does it? Anyway, so it occurred to me when I started doing Red's Planet that Tawi could be a supporting character there, that he, you know, looked a little bit like one of the gray aliens, big-eyed gray aliens of UFO lore. And I even made a joke about that, of him being mistaken for one of those malevolent gray aliens. The thing about watercolor is you can't let it dry until you get it to the edge, or you're going to get a hard line. So he kind of works there as far as, you know, just being an alien. You know, sci-fi just opens up so many so many possibilities for characters. I was reading some reviews of my book last night. There were French reviews, so they're translated, but the vast number of reviews, and I have a feeling they're parents or just regular book readers, and a very positive review on the page that reviewed the book, the French edition of Red's Planet. But it was very interesting that so many of the reviewers said, don't like sci-fi, don't like aliens, none for me, thanks. And I thought, that's, you know, it's kind of closed-minded, because most of the time, many times, aliens are used as metaphors for just diversity of humans. And I think it's unfortunate that people would make a judgment call not to read something just because of that, when they may be missing out on a story that's rich with story, you know, possibilities and character, and even symbolism, and, you know, it just, it's too bad. But it's a French audience too, so who knows? They may be reacting to what they perceive as sci-fi, or even just reacting because of what Americans have done with sci-fi, turned it into, you know, fantasy, or who knows. Sci-fi in France could be a little more hardcore too. Just, you know, my experience with French graphic novels, their sci-fi is much more heavy metal Mobius. Alright, I think I got that smoothed down a little bit. Let's give him some overalls. Let's see here. Turquoise. I think that's a good place to start, although a little regular blue in there as well. So how is the quality of this coming through? I'm looking at it, I wish it was brighter. You wouldn't believe how bright the lights are in here. But I need to adjust some settings on the camera. I'm gonna adjust this table. It shouldn't affect. Shouldn't affect the camera there, so I just want to level it out some so it's not all dripping. Gravity's taking over here and go with a little bit lighter turquoise here for the cuffs. So I don't know why I put Tawi into overalls, but he's always been in overalls. Just not a lot of no memory of why that happened. I know early on he was in overalls and he had the buttons up here, but he also had big black buttons on his chest, like Mickey's buttons on his red shorts. It was very Mickey Mouse in so many ways. He even had the white gloves. Great. Hey, Channel Tachyon, thank you so much for the comment. Yeah, I don't know why the lighting's so dark. I wonder if I could. I'm going to try tweaking. I got some advanced settings here. Let's see. I'm going to take the white balance. Let's see here. Auto gain. So it's, I don't know how natural that color is, but that might, oops, that'll blow it up. Well, let's play with that for a while. I think it might have gotten dark again. Ah, John Lotshaw, thank you. Gonna pop that out there. Good. It seemed to get darker again. So we'll figure this out. This will be a bit of a test, and I'll figure this out. So, yeah, joys of live video. Be nice to have a crew like Aaron Blaze, but I might have to actually learn how to draw to have a crew. So still don't know what to do with that egg. I'm not real happy with a lot of this. Boy, I tell you, it's really not like riding a bike. If you don't do this kind of stuff often, you forget some of the little tricks and things that you used to do. And art supplies are changing so quick. I mean, you guys know that. I went to buy ink to do some commissions, and the ink I used to use was so much worse, or so much worse. It used to be great ink, and now it's water. So, anyway. Silence is golden. Sorry about that. Trying to do nice steady lines and just hold my breath. give that kind of a grapeful color. Grapeful gray. Always tricky trying to recreate something in watercolor that you originally did as a computer color. So I think I'm going to be doing a live stream next week, and eventually, and I might include Facebook people on. So I have some character designs to do for Red's Planet 3. I get to draw some alien mobsters, which will be fun. And I really want to, because I'm doing kind of a Godfather thing, so I really want to do a kind of a Brando, without being cliche, but it's, you know, Don Corleone is the character that I think most resembles the personality that I'm trying to come up with. Adjust my table again, and all right, let's see if this works. I'm gonna go, and so I forgot about the resist. Just went straight for the black over the watercolor. And now what I'll do is come in here and fill in with the ink. So next week I'll do that. I'll do that on my computer, so I'll be sharing the screen. That'll work out a lot easier, and you won't have the lighting issues. You know, I could always go back over this with gouache. Which might not be a bad idea. So I'm going to let this go for another, I don't know, 5 minutes or so. I'll probably be able to finish up the egg here. And I'll tell you, as much as I love doing original art, I'm so glad that the books are done digitally. It just takes so much less time. All right. And the fear, and making a mistake here. If it were production art, that's fine. You can use a little pro white on it, but man, doing commissions like this and knowing that the drawing's got to be perfect the first time. So the rest of my day is going to be spent doing commissions, getting my commissions finished up. I've got a really fun one that I have to do that I'm not sure I'll get around to today, and that is drawing Doc Brown and Marty McFly from Back to the Future 2 in my style, which will be a lot of fun. And then a few more Red's Planet commissions, so it's all good. Next book, Tawi's not going to have a black egg with all these lines on it. I'm just going to give him a snowball. That'll be easier to draw. Run around with a snowball. I need younger eyes. One thing that really hits me every time I go to a showing of original cartoon art is how much I wish I had original cartoon art. That current art. I have lots of stuff from college that I don't want to show, but you know, it's I'm going to change my mind here and adjust that. Yeah, so lots of stuff from college, but nothing current, and knowing that I'm leaving nothing on this planet but digital files. Digital files are fine if it's in your bank account, but you know, I'd like to have some originals. Played around with I keep saying I'm not going to do another book, but there's a book I want to do based on my grandfather, who actually smuggled moonshine. And you have to understand, my grandfather was not a drinker. He was a teetotaler, but the President of the United States asked him to go get moonshine from Alabama. And my grandfather did it. And there's not a lot to the story that I know. Never thought to ask certain questions when he used to tell the story. But I thought I'd really love to draw that by hand. Alright, so that's it. I think there's a little bit of cleanup to do there, which is fine. To tighten up some of those lines, I'll go in with a the brush and tie that up off and tie that off. I'll tie it off like it's a umbilical cord. I'll tie that off and I'll tie that down. How about that? I'll tie it down and maybe hit it with some gouache as well, and then take a look at it and decide whether to redraw it or not. Anyway, so that's it. That's the drawing I've got. Pop back over here to my other camera. There I am in my messy studio, which is just a visual metaphor for my life right now. Hey guys, thanks so much for showing up and letting me do a test here and a kind of a practice swing and see how these live streams are going to go. It's always, technology is always kind of odd, and working with computer limitations and bandwidth problems. That's the way it goes. Thanks. I'll see you guys on Facebook or Patreon or wherever you guys are keeping up with me. Thanks again for showing up, and I'll see you guys next time.